Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of HTXO Talks Hiking. The last 2 days we've spent dedicating some time to answering your questions about what's holding you back from hiking in Houston. We've talked about resetting expectations, what you can get out of Houston hiking, how to read trail maps, ways to not get lost in Houston. And today we want to talk about some things, some places that you can go inside and near Houston for you to get more of an outdoor experience. So first, right here inside the loop is the Houston Arboretum. And this is honestly an amazing place to go to. They have very well maintained paths, as you can see on the top right-hand corner. Sorry, the top left-hand corner, there's over 3 miles worth of trails out there. And the Houston Arboretum is actually doing a lot of work. They just opened a new entrance. They're working on the whole outer loop trail. But the inner loop trails are open, and it's amazing out there. You can bring your dog. There's no bikes allowed, so you don't have to worry about looking for bikers when you're walking out there. It is very flat, but throughout the park, throughout the Arboretum, they have all different kinds of native plants to Houston, a lot of which are named so that you can learn what the names of the plants are. They have some trails that, as you can see on the bottom 2 pictures, are more of a boardwalk type of trail. And actually, regardless if it's the maintained trail or the boardwalk trail, you can still go out there on rainy days because it doesn't get muddy. And you can't do that on a lot of trails because walking on wet trails causes erosion. But these trails are usually pretty good, even with a little bit of rain. There's several ponds throughout the Houston Arboretum. So on the top right, you can see some turtles in one of the main ponds and the lily pads. This is going to be an amazing place to go. It's always amazing, but coming up because spring is here and a lot of the flowers are going to be in bloom. There's going to be a lot more animals coming out. And the Arboretum also does a lot of nature walks. So they do owl prowls. They have tons of different kinds of classes on edible plants, native plants, how to propagate native plants, snakes, anything you can think of really from an outdoor perspective. The Houston Arboretum has got you covered. So that is one of our favorite places to go. It's right inside the loop. It's near Memorial Park, so it's pretty easy to get to. If you guys have any questions as we go through this presentation, please add them to the comment section. And at the end, I am going to check the comments box and try to answer all of your questions. So please leave them down there and I will get back to you on that. So the next place that I want to talk about is Brays Bayou. And this is not a dirt trail. It's a paved trail along the bayou, but it's amazing out there and there's not a lot of people. So if you're looking for a place where you're not going to run into a ton of people, this is a great place to go. And the Houston Parks Board is actually doing a contest right now. You've got a few days left for hashtag Hue on the Bayou. If you take pictures along the bayou, post them with the hashtag Hue on the Bayou, which you can see in the slide right here. And Houston Parks Board is, they're having a contest. So they're going to pick a winner within a week, less than a week from now. So Brays Bayou, though, it's on 45 south. If you go south on 45, it's just south of Wayside, past Telephone, and it's just amazing. So we do hiking Zen out at Brays Bayou, which is where we hike along the bayou for a little bit. And then we do yoga in the park. And the 2 yoga pictures shown here is Mason Park. And then the top right picture is the wildflowers from last year. So in just a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks or so, you're going to be able to see all of these wildflowers all along the bayous. And this isn't, the wildflowers are not unique to the Brays Bayou. Houston has really stepped up creating paths all throughout Houston, along all the bayous, White Oak Bayou, Sims Bayou, Buffalo Bayou, Brays Bayou, every bayou you can think of. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm not mentioning, but there are wildflowers, there's birds out, there's the bats at Buffalo Bayou. So while these are more urban type of walking around Houston, a lot of them weave through some areas or have parks attached to them, or they're not as well known, that you still feel like you're connecting with the outdoors, even though you're not in the woods on a dirt trail. So these are great places to check out, in addition to some of the other places we're going to talk about coming up right now. Okay, Memorial Park. And this, I didn't have great pictures of the trails here, not because they don't exist, just because I don't remember to take pictures, so I'll have to get on that. But Memorial Park, not the 3-mile running loop that you normally see that's jam-packed with people, but the actual hiking and biking trails that are on the other side of the park. So these are attached to Picnic Lane. We do our full moon hikes out here a lot. So we have one coming up on Thursday, actually, that we want to invite you to as well, so that you can start to check out these trails. I'm going to have the link at the end of the slide, at the end of the presentation in just a few minutes. But Memorial Park is an amazing trail system. There's over 6 miles of trails. I didn't add up all the trails that are out there, but you can mountain bike on them, or you can walk or run on them. So because there are mountain bikers out there, you do want to be careful that you're looking where you're going. And if you see a mountain biker coming, I usually just step off to the right. You can yell hiker so that they know to be aware that you're there. And then the common etiquette is to let the other person that you're running into know how many people are behind you, even with hikers. So for example, if I'm walking with 3 or 5 people, let's say I'm walking with 3 people and we're kind of spread apart on the trail. What I'm going to do, if I see somebody coming, I'm going to say 2 back, because that's telling the person that's coming that there's 2 more hikers behind me that they may or may not be able to see. And if there's nobody else behind me, if I'm the last person or if I'm out there by myself, I'm going to say clear back. And then if I am hiking with other people, especially on trails that are multi-use, and I see a biker coming, I'm going to say bike up or bike back, depending on the direction that they're coming, just to make sure that everybody who is in my group, and also the other party that I'm seeing, we all know that each other are there. And then, like I said, I always step off the trail. I just step off to the right regardless and let the other people pass, especially if I have a larger group of people with me. Then usually we just get out of the way and let other people go by us, because it would just take too long for a large group to stand there and go by. Brazos Bend is one of my favorite places to go, and they got hit really bad by Harvey. It was pretty much completely underwater. So when you're doing a lot of hikes out there, you can actually see the flood lines on the trees, and it's decent. Halfway up the tree trunk, you can see the flood lines. But Brazos Bend is about an hour, depending on where you live in Houston, south of Houston. And they have these well-maintained trails that you can see here. These pictures go around 40 Acre Lake and Elm Lake, and there are alligators at Brazos Bend. And right now, the alligators are out and about. So if you are looking to see the alligators, it is time for you to go to Brazos Bend. Alligators are kind of funny because you don't see them when it's too hot, and you don't see them when it's too cold. And the too hot part surprised me. I went in July thinking I was going to see tons of alligators, but they were all hiding from the sun, like we probably should have been as well. So right now is a perfect time to go down to Brazos Bend. And I just love this park. I love it in the summer. I love it in the winter. There's just always something to see. You've got the Spanish moss coming off the trees. You've got the alligators. We saw a bald eagle the last time we went there. They also do yoga in the park. So we're working with them to move some of our hiking Zens that we were doing at Brays Bayou. We're also going to start doing those in Brazos Bend State Park as well. So it's a $7 entry to get into Brazos Bend unless you have a state park pass. If you have a state park pass, your entire car gets in for free. And the $7 entry is a per person rate. So it really starts to pay off if you carpool and you get the state park pass. And there's miles of trails down there. Plus, there's also the observatory. So we've gone down there and done a hike in the evening and then gone to the observatory to watch meteor showers. And it's just amazing. So there's a lot to do down in Brazos Bend State Park. And yoga is something new that we're starting down there. So you can do yoga with a view, and it's great. Some other random places, like I said, I'm really bad at taking pictures, so I didn't have enough of every park, to put on a slide, but I wanted to show you some other places. The top left picture is George Bush State Park, and this is taken by Long Overdue Adventures. If you go to their handle, you can see a lot more great pictures all around Houston, and in Houston and around Houston. So this is the George Bush State Park. It's connected to Terry Hershey trails. So between biking and hiking, there's, I can't remember exactly how many miles. I want to say 50 to 60 miles worth of hiking and biking trails out there. Some of them are paved and some of them are not, like you see in the picture. So there's lots to do out there. And then the top right picture, this is the Lone Star Trail. The Lone Star Trail we talked about yesterday when we were going through how to read a trail map. The Lone Star Trail is about 98 miles or so of trails that is just north of Houston, probably about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on where you're starting from and where on the trail you're going. And the Lone Star Trail is all primitive. So, and it's got some hills, you're crossing over some creeks. We went out there last weekend when it was projected to storm all weekend, and the trails were wet, but they didn't get muddy, which was awesome, because when the trails are really muddy, you don't want to be on them. One, for your safety, for slipping and sliding, it's bad on your knees and your ankles, but also it causes bad trail erosion when you're sliding on the trails. And then if you create a footprint on the trail in the mud, like a deep slide, then that becomes a hole when it dries up, and then it becomes more dangerous for the next person that's walking on it. So you do want to be careful about being on trails after it rains. A lot of trails close for a couple days after it rains just so that they can dry up, so that we don't have to spend as much money maintaining them. But the Lone Star Trail is a great resource, a great place to go outdoors and really be secluded from the city life. You'll see a lot of backpackers out there practicing for their thru hikes. The bottom two pictures, I know the bottom left is stand-up paddleboarding, but both of the pictures at the bottom are San Marcos. San Marcos is about 2 hours west of Houston. And I included the picture with the paddleboards also because right along the river is a trail that you can also walk along the river if you go to this park. So it's the Rio Vista Park, and you can bring your picnic. You can bring your paddleboards. You can bring your kayaks. I didn't show you the big rapid that's to the right in the picture, but there's a rapid that you can play in right there. You can swim. You can stand up paddleboard. You can go up river on the paddleboard. You can bring a tube and float. You can hike. It's amazing. And the water is clear. You can see, at least if you put your feet in it, you can see your feet still. And then the bottom right side is also some hiking trails out in San Marcos. We did about a 6-mile hike, and we didn't even hit all the trails out there. And so you get some hills, you get some turns, and then you can cool off and have lunch in the river afterwards. So San Marcos is a great place to go. It's just about 2.5 hours from Houston. So you can do it in a day. Or if you don't want to do it in a day, you can spend the night camping along the river as well. Some more trails, the top left picture and the bottom right picture, sorry about that, they're both backpacking, but you can also go out for hiking. This is the Turkey Creek Trail out in Big Thicket, and this is to the east of Houston. This is about 2 hours east of Houston, and there is about 16 to 20 miles worth of trails out there. There might be a little bit more actually, but you can do a through hike, you can do a loop, you can do an out and back. There's a lot of different options out there. And it's really, really good. I know we're talking about hiking today, but it's a really great place for beginner backpacking because it's very flat. The trails are well maintained and they're wide, but it's primitive camping. So, you can go out there and practice carrying a pack, practice camping overnight. The bottom left picture is Enchanted Rock. This is up in the Austin area. It's about 4 hours from Houston. But it's a great place to go, spend the weekend out there. There's tons of trails over in that area. And then the top right picture is Lake Livingston State Park. This is about an hour to an hour and a half north of Houston as well. We're going out there in March. We're going to camp for the weekends, but then we're going to hike in the state park, and they're doing something called Birds of Prey, where they're having some bird specialists come out and do a show in the park. So there's one that starts, I don't remember the times, but you can go to their Facebook page and find the Birds of Prey event. It's supposed to be really good. You just bring a chair, bring a blanket, and listen to the experts tell you about the birds that you're likely to see around. So, and then also there's the lake. I didn't show you a picture of the lake, but there's a lake as well, so that you can bring your kayaks, or you can rent canoes, put your stand-up paddleboards in there, go fishing. There's a lot to do at Lake Livingston State Park, which is, again, just an hour north to an hour and a half north of Houston. And then a lot further away, but something that a lot of people don't know about, especially if you're new to Houston or Texas, is Big Bend. Big Bend is about 10-hour drive from Houston. There's not really a good way to fly there unless you have your pilot's license, and most of us don't. So it's a 10-hour drive. And you can, there's a state park and a national park within an hour of each other. They're both amazing. You get different things from each park. The pictures that you see right now, these are all from the national park. So we stay in the Chios Basin, and we're actually going to go here in April. We're going to go up and camp for 4 nights and hike all around. So the top picture is the top, and the bottom picture, that's where we camp, and that's the view from the campsites. And there are many, many, many miles of trails from the campsite, and then a lot more within short driving distances from the campsite. The bottom right picture is the Lost Mines Trail, and that's just an amazing trail. Actually, the last time we went, it was closed for bear activity. There are bears out there. So I'm hoping it'll be open in April when we go, because I love the Lost Mines Trail, the window there. This is great for elevation as well. South Rim is about a 12 to 14, 15-mile trail. And the elevation gain is about 2,000 feet, which is obviously one of the higher elevation gain hikes that we have here in Texas. And you can also do Emery Peak, which is it still has quite a bit of elevation, but it's not quite as long. It's a little bit shorter. I think it's about 10 miles to do that one. I've done Emery Peak. I have not done South Rim yet. But Big Bend is just an amazing, amazing place to go. So much wildlife. We usually hit all different aspects of the park. We spend a day in Terralingua. We go down to the Rio Grande. We go out to the hot springs. We stay in the basin. We do everything out there. And like I said, every corner of the park looks different. So you just get a lot of different unique views when you go to Big Bend. I love it. Lost Maples is known for its foliage. So from October to about late October to early December, it's one of the best spots to go to watch the leaves change colors in Texas. Lost Maples State Park is about 4 to 5 hours, depending on where you live in Houston. From Houston, it's out west of Houston. And the foliage is so popular that all of the campsites for Lost Maples are full already for this October through December, the weekends anyway. You might be able to go during the week still if you want to check it out during the week, but the weekend camping sites are full already. We got some, so we're going to be going out there for Thanksgiving this year in November. We've booked it already. I know it's far in advance to be thinking about what you're doing for Thanksgiving, but if you want to spend the weekend in Lost Maples, you do have to think about it this far ahead. Actually, I booked it exactly 11 months ahead. So at the state parks, you cannot reserve camping sites more than 11 months in advance. And the Lost Maples camping sites for that November timeframe, they literally go exactly 11 months in advance. So you've got to book it on your calendar now if you want to get out there. But we're going in November. We still have spots open on our camping trips, so you can come with us if you want to. You can email me if you want to find out more about that trip. Garner State Park is near Lost Maples State Park, and we're going here in May. We're going to camp out here in May for a few days. It's along the Frio River, and you can float the river. There's a lot of hiking out there. The water just looks amazing. I actually have not been yet, but I have not heard of a single bad story about Garner State Park. Everyone who goes loves it. So I'm super, super excited to go out there. So there's lots of good trails out there as well. And then, of course, remember, we are in Houston, but Houston is a great hub for getting cheap flights. So you can travel and still get to some really cool places really easily and for pretty cheap. Last October, we did a very last minute trip, probably about 2 to 3 weeks worth of planning. We went to Zion National Park. We flew into Vegas for under $200. We got a deal on Southwest, and then just rented a car, drove out to the park. We camped for free. And then we did day trips into Zion National Park, and it was so much fun. So, yeah, there is stuff to do in Houston. Yes, we are flat. We don't have as many of mountains as some people who have moved to Houston might be used to. But just don't forget, we do have Southwest here. So it's very, very easy. A lot of times you can fly to Denver for less than $100. You can get to Vegas for less than $200. You can get to Phoenix for less than $300. Usually you can find these, not always, but if you're looking out for these deals, you can get to California. We can get to a lot of cool places for not very much money. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to think about getting outdoors. And then finally, we want to invite you once more. Our full moon hike is tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. And we're going to check out some of the trails at Memorial Park that we were talking about. And maybe you can help me get some better pictures of the actual trail while we're out there, because I'm so focused on, you know, talking to you guys and leading you on the hike and telling you about the trail, I forget to take pictures. So if you want to join us on the hike tomorrow, March 1st, 2018, just in case anybody's watching the replay, you can go to www.htxoutdoors.com/hiking. That's htxoutdoors.com/hiking. And you can click on the link there to join us for the full moon hike. We also are putting all 3 of these video series on the website, including other resources, some other blog posts that we wrote about hiking, some checklists that you can get. And we will be putting the list with some links of all of the places that we talked about today. That will be going up on this page as well. So if you want more information on hiking, go to htxoutdoors.com/hiking. I'm going to check the chat box really quick to see if there were any questions. I don't see any questions right now, but feel free to email me or message us on Facebook if you have any questions about hiking. And we hope to see you tomorrow night for the full moon hike. Have a great day.